Saxon Math Course 3, Lesson 11, all about percents today. Our objectives for this lesson: after this lesson you should be able to understand that a percent is a way to indicate a fraction with a denominator of 100, write percents as reduced fractions, and write fractions as percents. And find a percent of a group by finding an equivalent fractional part of a group. That sounds confusing, but it really isn't. I'll show you how to do that. Some review from last time. This review is just going to be from the last lesson that will help you for this lesson, so not everything from last lesson. Remember, to find equivalent fractions, we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And to reduce fractions, we divide the numerator and denominator by the same number. So equivalent fractions and reducing fractions are kind of opposites. So today we're talking about percents, and percents are actually fractions. It's a different way of writing a fraction anytime the denominator is 100. So 47% is the same as 47 over 100. In order to change a fraction to a percent, we have to find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. So if we wanted to write 4/5 as a percent, we need to change 4/5 so that the denominator is 100. So first we'll change the denominator because we know we want that to be 100. That's the first thing we change. And we find out that we have to multiply 5, which was our original denominator here, by 20 to get to 100. So we do that. And then we also have to multiply, remember, to find equivalent fractions, you have to multiply numerator and denominator by the same number. So we're also going to do 4 times 20 and get 80. So our new fraction is 80 over 100, and the numerator, you just use the numerator as the percent. So 80 over 100 is the same as 80%, which means 4/5 equals. Now, if we can't multiply the denominator of the fraction to make it equal 100, then we multiply the whole fraction by 100%, and I'm going to show you how we do that. So say we've got 2/3. I already know I can't multiply 3 by anything easy to get 100, so that's not going to work. So instead, we multiply by 100%, which is the same as 1. 100% is a whole. It's like 1 over 1, or 100 over 100, and we just put it over 1. Because this is still a fraction that equals 1, 100% over 1. And we do it just like we normally multiply, straight across. So we get 200% over 3. And then we're just going to divide 200 divided by 3. So we go ahead and do that. 3 goes into 26 times. We get 18. Bring down our 0, and we get 6 again, which is 18. And then we subtract and get 2, and then instead of writing a remainder, we're going to write our answer as a fraction. So our remainder would go on top, our divisor would go on the bottom, and then we just keep the percent sign. So 2/3 is 66 2/3%. So this is how you do it if you can't multiply the denominator and get to 100. If we want to go the other way, it's actually a little bit easier. Changing a percent to a fraction, all you do is take that percent and put it over 100 and then reduce the fraction. So if we wanted to do 65% as a fraction, we would just put 65 over 100 and then reduce by the greatest common factor. So we reduce by 5s. That would be 13 for our numerator and 20 for our denominator. So 65% is 13 over 20. To solve percent of a number problems, we're going to change the percent into a fraction first. So for example, if we wanted to find 40% of 30 in this problem, 40% of the 30 students, first we need to change 40% into a fraction. So we do just what we did up here a second ago. We put 40 over 100 and we reduce by the greatest common factor of 20. So 40% is 2/5, and then it's just a fraction of a number. You know how to do that. To find 2/5 of 30, we divide by the denominator first. 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then we multiply that quotient by the numerator. 6 times 2 is 12. So that means 40% of 30 is 12, meaning 12 of the students rode the bus. That's all for your lesson today. Make sure you do your practice problems. Put any questions in that discussion section and we'll talk about them in class next time. We'll see you in lesson 12.